The grand chamber of the Valoran Empire was a place of power and fear. Its walls stretched high into the darkness above, covered in gold and precious stones from 1,000 conquered worlds. The floor was made of black marble that reflected the faces of those who walked upon it. Great pillars held up the ceiling, each one carved with the names of species that had fallen before the might of the empire. Emperor Valoran Empire sat upon his throne at the far end of the chamber. His skin was pale blue, and his eyes glowed with a soft yellow light. 2 sets of arms rested on the arms of his chair. He was old by the standards of his people, having ruled for 300 years, and he had grown tired of small matters. Today, however, something had caught his attention. High Admiral Tethrak stood before the throne, his military uniform covered in medals and honors. Behind him, a massive screen displayed a strange image. It showed a ship floating in space near the border of the empire. The ship was ugly. Its hull was covered in patches and repairs. Smoke leaked from several places. It looked like something a child might build from scrap metal. "What am I looking at?" the emperor asked. His voice echoed through the chamber. "A vessel of unknown origin, your majesty," Tethrak replied. He touched a control, and the image grew larger. "Our patrol ships detected it 3 days ago near the Kethrani Nebula. It appears to be damaged and drifting." Laughter spread through the chamber. The nobles and advisors who lined the walls could not help themselves. The ship on the screen was so primitive, so clearly inferior to anything the empire possessed. "Is this a joke?" asked Lord Venix, one of the emperor's closest advisors. "That thing looks like it was built before the first star was born." More laughter followed. Tethrak waited for the noise to die down. "We have analyzed its design, my lord. The reactor is a basic fusion system, at least 200 years behind our technology. The weapons appear to be simple kinetic projectiles and low-grade energy beams. The shields, if it has any, are not registering on our sensors." "Then why bring this matter to me?" the emperor asked. "Surely our patrols can handle one broken ship." "There is something unusual, your majesty." Tethrak touched the control again. The image zoomed in on the side of the ship. Letters were painted there in a language that none of them recognized. Below the letters was a symbol, a circle showing a blue and green planet. "We could not identify the language at first," Tethrak continued. "So we searched through the old archives, the records from before the Great Expansion." The chamber grew quiet. The archives were ancient, containing information about species that had been conquered or destroyed long before anyone present was born. "We found a match," Tethrak said. "The ship belongs to a species called humans. They come from a small planet in an unexplored arm of the galaxy. Our scouts visited their system approximately 300 of their years ago." "And what did the scouts report?" the emperor asked. Tethrak looked uncomfortable. "They classified the humans as irrelevant, your majesty. Pre-expansion primitives. At the time, the humans had only just begun to leave their own planet. They had not even reached their nearest neighbor world. The scouts recommended no further contact. The species was not considered a threat." Lord Venix snorted. Clearly, they were right. "Look at that ship. 300 years, and this is the best they can do?" The laughter returned, louder than before. "The ship's name appears to be Perseverance," Tethrak added. "We believe it is some kind of exploration or colony vessel. Our scans show only 12 life signs aboard. The ship appears designed to carry several hundred. 12 survivors on a broken ship," the emperor said slowly. He leaned back on his throne and smiled. "How sad for them. How fortunate for us, your majesty. Think of what we might learn from them, Admiral. A species we know nothing about, delivered to our doorstep. Their technology may be primitive, but their biology could be useful. Their history, their culture, their weaknesses, All of it could be valuable. Tethric bowed his head. What are your orders, Your Majesty? The Emperor waved one of his hands in a lazy gesture. Send a single patrol corvette to collect them. There is no need to waste resources on such a simple task. Bring the ship and its occupants to the research station on Velith Prime. I want our scientists to study everything. And if the humans resist? The question brought another wave of laughter from the assembled nobles. Resist? Lord Vennick said, his voice dripping with amusement. With what? That pile of scrap metal? Admiral, I have seen transport barges with more firepower than that thing. The Emperor raised a hand, and the laughter stopped. If they resist, he said calmly, then destroy them. But try to take them alive, if possible. Living specimens are always more valuable than dead ones. As you command, Your Majesty. Tethric bowed deeply and turned to leave Dot. As he walked out of the chamber, the sound of laughter followed him. The nobles were already making jokes about the primitive humans and their worthless ship. Someone suggested they should put the humans in a zoo. Another proposed using them as servants. Tthrak did not laugh. He was a military man, and military men learned to be careful. But even he could not imagine that this single, broken ship could be anything more than it. Appeared Dodd, he thought about the name painted on its hull. Perseverance. He wondered what it meant in the human language. He wondered why 12 beings would travel so far, from home in such a fragile vessel. But these thoughts did not trouble him for long. He had his orders. One corvette would be more than enough. In the Grand Chamber, Emperor Varath IX returned to other matters. The strange human ship was already forgotten. Just another minor event in the long history of his empire. The humans were nothing. Their ship was nothing. In a few days, they would be specimens in a laboratory, and the empire would continue on as it always had. He could not know that this single decision would change everything. He could not know that in the cold darkness of space, aboard that battered and broken ship, 12 exhausted humans were preparing for what came next. He could not know that his empire had just made the worst mistake in its 2,000-year history. But he would learn. They would all learn. Commander Lyris stood on the bridge of the Talon's Edge and looked at the human ship through the viewport. It was even uglier up close. The hull was covered in burn marks and crude repairs. Pieces of metal had been welded over holes in strange patterns. It looked like something that should have fallen apart years ago. Scan complete, Commander, said his sensor officer. 12 life signs confirmed. All concentrated in the forward section of the vessel. Power readings are minimal. They appeared to be running on emergency systems only. Lyris smiled. This would be easy. The Emperor wanted the humans captured alive, and capturing 12 weak creatures on a dying ship would take no effort at all. Open a channel, he ordered. Let us introduce ourselves. The communication officer pressed several buttons. Channel open, Commander. Lyris straightened his uniform. Even when dealing with primitives, he believed in proper presentation. Attention, unidentified vessel. This is Commander Lyris of the Valoran Imperial Navy. You have entered sovereign space of the Valoran Empire. Power down your systems and prepare to be boarded. You will not be harmed if you cooperate. He waited. The human ship remained silent. No response, Commander, the communication officer reported. Perhaps their communication systems are damaged, Lyris said. Or perhaps they do not understand us. Send the message again. Include translation protocols for primitive languages. The message went out again. Again, there was silence. Lyris felt a small flash of annoyance. He did not like being ignored. Very well. If they will not respond, we will board them directly. Prepare the assault team. 30 soldiers should be more than enough. Yes, Commander. The Talon's Edge moved closer to the human ship. Lyris watched as his vessel's boarding clamps extended toward the ugly craft. In a few minutes, his soldiers would cut through the hull and take control. The humans would either surrender or die. Either way, the mission would be complete. The clamps touched the human ship's hull, and then something happened. The sensor officer made a sound of surprise. "Commander, I am reading power surges across the human vessel. New systems are coming online. I did not detect these before." "What kind of systems?" Lyris demanded. Before the officer could answer, the human ship moved. It twisted in space with a speed that should have been impossible for something so damaged. The boarding clamps tore free, leaving the Talon's edge momentarily off balance. Panels on the human ship's hull slid open. Weapons emerged from hidden compartments. They were not the primitive guns the initial scans had shown. These were different, larger, more advanced. "Shields!" Lyris shouted. The Talon's edge's shields activated just as the first shots hit. The ship shook violently. Alarms began to sound across the bridge. "Damage report." Lyris grabbed the arm of his chair to keep from falling. "Forward shields down to 60%. The tactical officer said, his voice shaking. "Commander, those weapons should not exist. The energy output is far beyond what their reactors should be able to produce." The communication panel lit up. Someone was hailing them. On screen, Lyris ordered. A face appeared. A human face. Female, Lyris thought, though he was not certain of human gender markers. Her skin was pale, and there were dark circles under her eyes. Her hair was cut short and looked unwashed. She wore a uniform that was torn and stained, but her eyes were what Lyris noticed most. They were the eyes of someone who had seen terrible things. The eyes of someone who had nothing left to lose. "This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the UNS Perseverance," the human said. Her voice was rough and tired. "We did not come looking for a fight. We are trying to go home. Turn around and leave us alone." Lyris forced himself to appear calm. "You are in no position to give orders, human. Your ship is damaged. You have 12 crew against my 300. Surrender now, and I promise you will be treated fairly." The human captain laughed. It was not a happy sound. "Fairly? Your empire classified us as specimens to be studied. We received your transmission to your High Admiral. We know what you plan to do with us." Lyris felt cold. How had they intercepted that transmission? The encryption should have been unbreakable. "You have one chance," Captain Vasquez continued. "One chance to turn your ship around and fly away. If you try to board us, none of your soldiers will come back. I promise you that." "You are bluffing," Lyris said. "You have 12 crew members. My assault team has the best soldiers in the sector." The human captain's expression did not change. "We have been running for 2 years. We have been hunted, shot at, and left for dead more times than I can count. 12 of us are still alive because we are very, very hard to kill." She leaned closer to the camera. "Your soldiers have never fought anything like us. Send them if you want, but you will not get them back." The transmission ended. Lyris stared at the blank screen. His officers looked at him, waiting for orders. Part of him wanted to believe the human was bluffing, but something in her voice, something in those exhausted eyes, made him hesitate. Only for a moment. "Launch the assault team," he ordered. "Full combat gear. Lethal force authorized if necessary, but try to take them alive." "Yes, Commander." The assault shuttle launched from the Talon's edge and crossed the short distance to the human ship. Lyris watched it dock with the damaged vessel. His soldiers were the best. 30 against 12. It would be over in minutes. He was wrong. The first screams came over the Vigora communication channel almost immediately. Gunfire. Explosions. Sounds that Lyris did not recognize. His soldiers were shouting, calling for backup, reporting casualties. "They are everywhere!" One voice screamed. "They will not stay down." We shot him 5 times, and he kept coming. More screaming. More gunfire. Then, one by one, the life signs of his soldiers began to disappear from the tactical display. 20-5 remaining. 20. 15. "Commander, should we send reinforcements?" the tactical officer asked. His voice was barely steady. 10 remaining. 5. "Commander." 2 remaining. 1. Then silence. Lyris stood frozen. 30 of his best soldiers. Gone in less than 10 minutes. Against 12 humans on a broken ship. "Get us out of here," he whispered. "Commander?" "Full retreat." Lyris shouted. "Now. Get us out of here now." The Talon's edge turned and ran. As it fled, Lyris recorded a message for High Admiral Tethrak. His hands were shaking as he spoke. "The humans, they are not what we thought. Their weapons, their tactics, their soldiers, they are unlike anything we have encountered. They fight without fear. They fight without hesitation. They fight like creatures who have already accepted death." He paused, trying to find the right words. "We need more ships. Many more ships. And even then, I am not certain it will be enough." Behind him, the ugly human ship hung in space, its hidden weapons folding back into the hull. On its bridge, Captain Vasquez watched the Valorian corvette run away. She did not smile. There was nothing to smile about. Her crew was exhausted. Their ship was dying. They were still years away from home, but they were alive, and they would keep fighting until they were not. High Admiral Tethrak had not slept in 3 days. The report from Commander Lyris played over and over in his mind. 30 soldiers, gone, against 12 humans. He sat in the intelligence chamber of Imperial Strategic Command, surrounded by screens and data terminals. Around him, dozens of analysts worked to gather every piece of information they could find about the species called humanity. "Tell me everything," Tethrak ordered. "Start from the beginning." Senior Analyst Korath stepped forward. He was nervous. Everyone was nervous. The defeat at the human ship had sent shockwaves through the military command. This was not supposed to happen. The Valoran Empire did not lose to primitive species. "The humans come from a planet called Earth," Korath began. "Third planet from their sun, located in a system they call Sol. Based on our old records and what we have been able to gather from intercepted signals, we have built a picture of their species." He touched a control, and images appeared on the central screen. A blue and green planet. Continents and oceans. Cities that spread across the land like metal forests. Earth is what we classify as a Category 4 death world. Tethrak frowned. "Explain." "A Category 4 world is one with extreme environmental challenges," Korath said. "Earth has unstable weather patterns, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions. The planet's axis is tilted, causing severe seasonal changes. Large portions of the surface are either frozen or burning hot. And the wildlife." He pulled up more images. Creatures with massive teeth and claws. Predators that hunted in packs. Poisonous insects and deadly sea creatures. "The humans evolved alongside these threats," Korath continued. "They are what is called pursuit predators. They do not rely on speed or strength to catch prey. Instead, they follow their targets for hours, sometimes days, until the prey collapses from exhaustion. Their bodies are designed for endurance. They can survive injuries that would kill most other species. They heal faster than expected. They can operate for extended periods without sleep or food." "How did such a species develop intelligence?" Tethrak asked. "Competition, Admiral. Earth's environment forced them to adapt constantly. They developed tools, then weapons, then complex social structures. But most importantly, they developed a psychological trait that we have found in very few other species. What trait? Korath hesitated. They refused to give up, under any circumstances. Where other species would accept defeat or surrender, humans continue fighting. They view survival as a challenge to be overcome rather than a fate to be accepted. Tethric thought about Commander Lyris's report. The soldiers who kept fighting after being shot. The crew that operated on a dying ship as if it were nothing unusual. What about their military history? He asked. The images on the screen changed. Cities in flames. Massive armies clashing on battlefields. Weapons that Tethric recognized as primitive but effective. Mushroom clouds rising over destroyed landscapes. Humans have been at war with each other for their entire recorded history, Korath said. They have developed weapons capable of destroying their entire planet. They have used these weapons on each other. And they survived. They attacked their own kind with world-destroying weapons. Tethric could not hide his disbelief. Twice, and they rebuilt both times. Admiral, these creatures do not think like other species. They are aggressive, stubborn, and completely unpredictable. Our analysts believe this is why they've advanced so quickly. They did not develop space travel for exploration or science. They developed it because they were racing against each other to be first. Tethric stood and walked to the viewport. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly into the darkness. Somewhere out there, 12 humans waited on a broken ship. What about the ship itself? He asked. The Perseverance. What do we know about it? Korath pulled up new data. We have managed to intercept some communications from the human vessel. The Perseverance is a colony ship, Admiral. It was carrying 400 humans to establish a new settlement on a distant world. 2 years ago, the ship was attacked by unknown forces. Most of the colonists were killed. The survivors have been fighting their way back to human space ever since. 2 years, Tethric repeated. They have been running and fighting for 2 years. Yes, Admiral. During that time, they have salvaged technology from every species they encountered. The weapons we detected on their ship are not human. They are a combination of systems from at least 6 different civilizations, all modified to work together. Tethric turned back to face Korath. They have been adapting alien technology? Adapting, improving, and weaponizing. The humans appear to have a talent for taking things apart and rebuilding them. Our analysts believe this is connected to their pursued predator nature. They see every problem as something to be solved through persistence and creativity. The chamber fell silent. The implications were clear to everyone present. The humans were not the primitive species they had been classified as 300 years ago. They were dangerous. Prepare a hunting fleet, Tethric ordered. 15 warships. I want this matter ended. 15, Admiral? For one damaged ship? Tethric turned cold eyes on the officer who had spoken. You heard Commander Lyris's report. You saw what 12 humans did to 30 of our soldiers. I am not taking any chances. Far away, aboard the Perseverance, Captain Elena Vasquez stood in the engine room with her chief engineer. His name was Marcus Chun, and he looked as tired as she felt. The reactor is failing, Chun said. We have maybe 2 weeks of power left, maybe less. The batch jobs are not holding anymore. Vasquez nodded. She had expected this news. What about weapons? The railguns are at 40%. Energy weapons are drained. We fired almost everything we had at that corvette. And the drive system? Chun shook his head. One more hard burn, Captain. That is all we have. After that, we drift. Vasquez looked around the engine room. 2 years ago, this ship had been clean and new, filled with families dreaming of a new life on a new world. Now it was held together with stolen parts and desperate hope. "Gather the crew," she said. "All of them. We need to talk." 20 minutes later, all 12 survivors of the Perseverance stood in the ship's small meeting room. They were soldiers and scientists, engineers, and medical staff. Some had been crew on the original voyage. Others had been colonists who learned to fight because fighting was the only way to survive. "The Empire is coming," Vasquez told them. "Not one ship this time. Our sensors are picking up a fleet. 15 warships." No one spoke. They all knew what this meant. "We cannot outrun them," Vasquez continued. "We cannot hide. Our ship is dying, and we are out of time." She paused, looking at each face. "But we have one advantage. They still do not understand what we are. They still think we are weak." She pulled up a map on the room's display. The Kethrani Nebula filled the screen, a massive cloud of dust and radiation. "This is our battlefield. The nebula will block their sensors and limit their ability to coordinate. Inside that cloud, 15 ships means nothing. It will be chaos. And chaos is where we win." Marcus Chun spoke up. "We have one hard burn left in the engines, Captain. Are you suggesting we go into the nebula and fight?" "I am suggesting we go into the nebula and make them regret ever finding us." Vasquez's voice was steady. "We are not going to surrender. We are not going to die quietly. If this is our end, then we will make sure the Empire remembers it forever." The room was silent for a long moment. Then, one by one, the crew began to nod. "We are with you, Captain," said Dr. Sarah Webb, the ship's medical officer. "All the way home, or all the way to hell." Vasquez almost smiled. Almost. "Then let us get to work. We have a fleet to destroy." The Kethrani Nebula stretched across space like a wound in the stars. Purple and red clouds of dust swirled in patterns that changed constantly. Radiation storms flickered like lightning inside the massive formation. It was a place that most ships avoided. The Perseverance flew straight into it. High Admiral Tethrak watched from the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Victory, as the human ship disappeared into the clouds. His fleet of 15 warships followed, spreading out to cover all possible escape routes. "The fools," Lord Vennick said. He had demanded to join the hunt, eager to witness the destruction of the humans who had embarrassed the Empire. "They have trapped themselves. The nebula has no exit on the far side. They will have to come back through us." Tethrak did not respond. Something felt wrong. The humans had survived for 2 years against unknown odds. They had destroyed 30 of his soldiers. Running into a dead-end nebula did not match what he knew of their behavior. "All ships, enter the nebula," he ordered. "Maintain formation. Watch your sensors." The fleet moved forward into the purple clouds. Almost immediately, problems began. The radiation interfered with communication between ships. Sensors flickered and showed ghost images. The carefully maintained formation began to spread apart. "Admiral, I have lost contact with the Ravager and the Storm Hunter," his communication officer reported. "The interference is too strong. Keep trying. Order all ships to visual range." "I want." The first explosion cut off his words. On the far side of the fleet, the destroyer Crimson Blade burst into flames. The attack had come from below, from inside a dense cloud where sensors showed nothing. Before anyone could react, another explosion tore through the light cruiser Silver Fang. "Contact!" Someone shouted. "The human ship. They are behind us." "Impossible," Lord Vennick said. "We would have seen them pass." But the sensors did not lie. The Perseverance was there, rising from beneath the fleet like a predator from the deep. Its weapons fired in rapid bursts, targeting weak points, engines, and weapon systems. The humans were not trying to destroy ships. They were trying to cripple them. "All ships, target that vessel," Tethrak commanded. But in the chaos of the nebula, Coordination was impossible. Ships fired blindly, some shots coming dangerously close to hitting Allied vessels. The Perseverance dove back into the clouds and vanished. Then the music started. It came over every communication channel, cutting through the interference with impossible clarity. A thundering rhythm. Voices singing in the human language. The sound filled the bridges of every Valorian ship. "What is this?" Lord Venix demanded. "We do not know," the communication officer said, his hand shaking as he tried to block the signal. "We cannot stop it. They are broadcasting on frequencies we cannot filter." The music was aggressive, powerful, and terrifying. Even without understanding the words, the Valorian crews felt something primal in the sound. It was the music of predators. The music of hunters who enjoyed the hunt. The second wave of attacks came while the crews were still trying to understand what was happening. The Perseverance appeared again, this time from above. Its weapons tearing into the battlecruiser Throne's Wrath. The massive ship's engines exploded, leaving it drifting and helpless. "How are they doing this?" Tethrak demanded. "Our sensors should detect them. They are using the radiation storms as cover," his tactical officer explained, his voice barely steady. "They appear for a few seconds, attack, and then disappear before we can lock on." "Admiral, they know this nebula. They have mapped it somehow." 3 more ships fell in the next hour. The heavy cruiser Iron Promise was boarded by humans who had launched themselves across space in nothing but personal suits. The crew reported fighting in the corridors, enemies who used knives and improvised weapons when their guns ran empty. The humans fought in ways the Valorians had never seen. They used the environment. They set traps. They refused to die. When the Iron Promise went silent, its entire crew was dead. But 2 human bodies were found among the wreckage. When it was later recovered, 2 humans had killed a crew of 400. The fleet began to panic. Captains demanded permission to retreat. Some ships started shooting at shadows, wasting ammunition on clouds of dust. The formation, already broken, collapsed entirely. Tethrak tried to restore order. He commanded his ships to group together to present a unified defense. But the nebula made communication almost impossible, and the human attacks never stopped. The Perseverance was everywhere and nowhere. It struck from unexpected angles. It used asteroids and debris fields for cover. It launched decoys that confused sensors. And always the music played. By the 5th hour, 9 Valorian ships were destroyed or crippled. The remaining 6 had gathered around the Eternal Victory in a desperate defensive circle. "Admiral," Lord Venix said. His earlier confidence was gone. His face was pale. "We must retreat. This is madness." For once, Tethrak agreed with him. "All ships, fall back. Exit the nebula. Regroup in open space." The retreat was chaos. The damaged ship's storm chaser could not keep up and was left behind. Its destruction lit up the nebula like a second sun. 2 more ships collided in the confusion, their crews too frightened to navigate properly. When the survivors finally emerged from the nebula, only 6 ships remained from the original 15. 4 of those were damaged. The Eternal Victory itself had taken hits to its shield generators and forward weapons. Behind them, the Perseverance emerged slowly from the purple clouds. It was burning. Smoke poured from a dozen wounds in its hull. It was barely moving, but it was still there. Captain Vasquez stood on her bridge, blood running from a cut on her forehead. Around her, her crew worked frantically to keep the ship alive. 3 of her people were dead. 2 more were badly injured. The reactor was failing. Life support was barely functioning. "Report," she said, her voice hoarse. Marcus Chun looked up from his console. His arm was broken, held in a makeshift sling. "We are done, Captain. No weapons left. No fuel. We are drifting on emergency power." Vasquez nodded. She had expected this. They had given everything they had, but they had 1.9 enemy ships destroyed. A fleet scattered. A message sent. Humanity was not prey. Humanity was not weak. And anyone who thought otherwise would learn the truth in blood and fire. Get a message out, she ordered. All frequencies. Let them hear us. The communication officer, a young woman named Li Wei, managed a broken smile. What should I say, Captain? Vasquez looked out at the retreating Valorian ships. Tell them who we are. Tell them where we come from. And tell them that if they come for us again, we will teach them another lesson. The message went out. Simple words in the human language, translated into every known galactic tongue. This is the UN's perseverance. We are human. We are going home. Get in our way again, and we will show you what humanity does to its enemies. In the distance, the surviving Valorian ships ran for safety. High Admiral Tethric sat in his command chair. Staring at the burning human ship on his viewport, he had brought 15 warships to destroy 1 vessel. He had lost 9, and the humans were still alive. For the first time in his long military career, Tethric felt something he had never experienced before: fear. The throne room of Emperor Varth IX was silent. No one laughed now. No one made jokes about primitive species or zoo specimens. The massive screen behind the throne showed the images that had destroyed every assumption the Empire had ever made about the galaxy. High Admiral Tethric stood before the Emperor, his uniform dirty and torn from the battle. He had not changed before coming here. He wanted the Emperor to see. He wanted everyone to see. 9 ships, Emperor Vorth said slowly. You took 15 warships against 1 damaged vessel, and you lost 9. Yes, Your Majesty. Against 12 humans. By the end of the battle, they were down to 9 crew members, Your Majesty. 9 humans destroyed 9 of our warships. Lord Vex, standing at the side of the chamber, had nothing to say. He had been on the flagship. He had seen the battle with his own eyes. The memory would haunt him for the rest of his life. Tell me about the humans, the Emperor ordered. Tell me everything. Tethric activated the display. Information filled the screen. Images, data, analysis. The humans are a Death World species, Your Majesty. They evolved on a planet that tried to kill them every day of their existence. Their bodies are designed for survival under extreme conditions. They can heal from wounds that would kill us. They can operate without sleep for extended periods. They feel pain but continue functioning regardless. More images appeared. Human history, wars, weapons, cities being rebuilt after destruction. Their entire history is a chronicle of conflict, Tethric continued. They've been fighting since before they developed written language. They have created weapons capable of destroying their own planet. They used these weapons against each other. And they survived. The Emperor leaned forward. If they are so dangerous, why did our scouts classify them as irrelevant 300 years ago? Because 300 years ago, they had barely left their home planet, Your Majesty. They were confined to a single star system. Our scouts saw a primitive species taking its first steps into space and assumed they were no threat. Tethrac's voice hardened. They were wrong. New images appeared on the screen. Long-range sensor data. Transmissions intercepted from the far edge of known space. The numbers made everyone in the chamber stop breathing. Our deep space arrays have detected extensive activity in the region of the galaxy where the human homeworld is located, Tethric said. Activity that our scouts missed because they were not looking for it. The image clarified. It showed thousands of signatures, ships, stations, defensive platforms. The humans have not been idle, Your Majesty. While we dismissed them as primitives, they have been building. The Perseverance was a civilian colony ship. It carried families and farmers, scientists and teachers. It was barely armed by human standards. He paused to let that sink in. What we fought was not a warship. It was the equivalent of a cargo transport. And it nearly destroyed our hunting fleet. The Emperor's yellow eyes widened. If that was a civilian vessel, what do their military ships look like? We do not know, Your Majesty. But based on what we have seen, I believe they would be significantly more capable. The chamber erupted in frightened murmurs. Advisors and nobles exchanged terrified glances. The implications were clear to everyone. The Empire had made an enemy of a species it did not understand. A species that had been preparing for contact with hostile aliens for centuries. There is more, Tethrak said. We have intercepted a transmission. It came from the human homeworld approximately 6 hours ago. It appears to be a response to the Perseverance's distress calls. Show me, the Emperor commanded. The screen changed. A human appeared. Male, with gray hair and a stern face. He wore a dark uniform covered in symbols of rank. Behind him, a massive room filled with other humans working at consoles and displays. This message is for any vessels in the region of the Kethrani Nebula, the human said. His voice was calm, but carried an unmistakable weight of authority. We have received communications from the colony ship Perseverance. We know they are attempting to return home. We know they have encountered hostile forces. The human paused, and his eyes seemed to look directly through the screen. To whoever attacked our people, understand this. The Perseverance carries 400 citizens of Earth. If any of them are harmed, there will be consequences. We have been watching the galaxy for a very long time. We have seen empires rise and fall. We have prepared for this moment. He stepped back, and the view behind him expanded. What Tethrak had thought was a command room was actually something much larger. Through massive windows, ships were visible. Hundreds of ships. Ships that dwarfed anything the Valoran Empire had ever built. We are humanity, the man continued. We do not seek war. But if war comes to us, we will finish it. The Perseverance is coming home. Anyone who tries to stop them will answer to all of Earth. The transmission ended. Emperor Varath Ix sat in complete silence. His advisors were frozen. Even Lord Venix, who always had something to say, could not find words. What do we do? The Emperor finally asked. His voice was quiet. Uncertain. Tthrak had thought about this question for the entire journey back to the capital. We let them go, Your Majesty. We let the Perseverance return to its home. We do not pursue. We do not attack. We make no hostile moves. You want us to appear weak? I want us to survive, Your Majesty. Tethrak's voice was firm. We have ruled this region of space for 2,000 years because we chose our battles carefully. The humans are not a battle we can win. Not today. Perhaps not ever. 6 months later, the Perseverance limped into the Sol system. Its hull was barely holding together. Its reactor was dead, replaced by emergency power cells that were themselves almost drained. Of the 12 crew who had fought in the Kethrani Nebula, only 7 remained. Captain Elena Vasquez sat in her command chair, too exhausted to stand. Her ship was surrounded by vessels of Earth's defense fleet. Massive carriers, heavy cruisers, destroyers that moved with a speed and grace that made the Valorian ships look like children's toys. Captain, her communication officer said, we have an incoming message from Earth Command. Put it through. A familiar face appeared on screen. Admiral James Morrison, the same man whose transmission had been intercepted by the Empire. Captain Vasquez, he said, on behalf of Earth and all humanity, welcome home. Vasquez tried to respond, but her voice caught in her throat. 2 years. 2 years of running and fighting and watching her people die one by one. 2 years of surviving on nothing but stubbornness and spite, and now it was over. We received your reports, Admiral Morrison continued. All of them. The whole planet has been following your journey. You are heroes, Captain. All of you. Vasquez found her voice. What about the Empire, Admiral? They will come for us eventually. Morrison smiled. It was not a friendly smile. Let them come. They think the Perseverance was impressive? Wait until they see what we have been building. His expression softened. But that is a problem for another day. Right now, you need to rest. Medical teams are on their way. We will take care of everything. The transmission ended. Vasquez looked around her broken bridge. Her surviving crew was watching her, waiting. We made it, she said simply. No one cheered. No one had the energy. But there were tears, smiles, relief that went beyond words. Marcus Chun, his arms still in a sling, walked over and put his good hand on Vasquez's shoulder. What do we do now, Captain? Vasquez looked out the viewport. Earth hung in the distance, blue and green and beautiful. The planet they had fought so hard to see again. Now? She said. Now we go home. And then we make sure this never happens to anyone else. In the Valoran Empire, Emperor Vorath IX issued new orders. The region near human space was declared forbidden. All patrols were pulled back. All aggressive operations were cancelled. The Empire had learned a valuable lesson. There were some species that should not be underestimated. Some species that were better left alone. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, the message of the Perseverance spread. Other civilizations heard the story of 12 humans who had fought an empire and won. They heard about the death world called Earth. They heard about the species that refused to die. Some were frightened by these stories. Others were inspired. And across the galaxy, a single truth became clear to everyone who heard it. Humanity was coming, and the universe would never be the same.